Welcome to the first episode of Shop Talk here at Maneuvers Garage. I'm your host Yama. Today's topic is maneuvering life. When the plans we make hit a fork in the road, how do you handle it? Do you stop because you don't like the idea of having to make another option? Or do you power through and just make a decision that you're going to roll with the punches and come out from the other side better from the experience? I'm gonna be honest with you. It took me a while to realize that no matter what you go through in life, you have to keep going. You just can't stop. The plans you make are bound to fail, and that's okay. Sometimes we try to control things that we want because we see ourselves in certain positions, we see ourselves doing certain things, and when we don't get our way, sometimes we can't handle it. Sometimes it'll set us back. And that's what happened with me. So, I'm not gonna lie, this is my first episode talking about this. It's a little difficult, but I'm going to get through this. Like I've gotten through many other difficult points in my life. So, just bear with me, if you will. So when I was in my early 20s, I was working full time, going to school full time, and I was a caretaker full time. What happened was my uncle moved in with us after leaving an abusive situation, and my parents, they didn't feel comfortable with him going back home at that point, which is understandable. So after he moved in, things were pretty okay after a while, but we weren't aware how sick he was. My uncle, he had Parkinson's disease, but at the time we weren't really aware of the severity of the disease, if that makes sense. So once he started going downhill, he needed more personal care. He needed more help, bathing, eating, getting to the bathroom, things like that. And then after a while, it kind of became more of I don't want to say a job, but it became more strenuous because there was a lot more involved with his level of care at that time. And my parents, they were trying to get him into a couple of facilities, but they weren't having any luck. So what started out as what started out as my uncle coming to stay with us until he got better actually turned into us taking care of him up until, well, I won't say up until his passing, but up until he went into a hospice. And then he went into the hospice and then he passed away. But for the duration of those, it was probably 6 to 7 years. It was a lot trying to work, go to school, have a life. But then it's like you're taking care of this person and their life becomes your life because now it's what they need, what they have to have, when they have to have it by. You going out to run errands. Do they have enough of this? Do they have enough of that? Did we pick up this? Did we go get that? Are these prescriptions filled? Blah, 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 blah. Anyway. And it was very hard to have a social life around that time because between work and school, I didn't really have enough time for myself. I was working overnight, going to school during the day, and then I ended up picking a part-time job at Pep Boys. I was trying to save to move out about 2014, 15. So I was trying to save to move out of the house at that point, and I ended up getting sick. So what happened was around this time, between working the two jobs at Pep Boys and the security gig, I had got sick. So after I got sick, I had to leave the part-time job. I put school on hold for a little bit until things got um, until I got things together. But what ended up happening was around the time of my uncle going into the hospice, my dad got sick. And then it was like after my dad got sick, it was like I'm not gonna say I didn't get a break, but it just kind of felt like taking going from what's the word? It kind of felt like going from one patient to the next, if that makes sense. But I guess your dad, so you got to be there, help out, do what you got to do. Same thing with my uncle. At different times, it was very stressful, very strenuous because of what all needed to be done. But in hindsight, I don't really think I would do a lot of things differently simply because of how close I was to my dad and my uncle. It was just being a young man at that time, wanting to go out, be on his own, do his own thing, and just live life. I had these responsibilities that I felt tethered to. And then it's like I'm working two jobs, I'm going to school, I'm trying to save to get my own place. But then once I got sick, that set a lot of things back for me. So it took a little time to get to where I wanted to be, but for a long time, I didn't think it was going to be possible. I felt like because of the situation I was in, helping take care of the people at home, that this was all my life was going to be. And it was no offense to my family, but again, I just didn't realize how much went into taking care of sick people until I was in it. And I happened to read this article online where they were talking about when you're taking care of sick people, you have to be careful because you can lose a lot of your personality. Um, you can lose a lot of your personality when you're taking care of a sick person because everything, kind of revolves around them, their care, what they need, and when they need it. So you spend a lot of your time just trying to think in the moment and think ahead to prevent things from happening. And to be honest with you, being a young man, I wasn't really trying to do all that. Listen, I was in my early 20s. I was working. I was going to school. I was buying clothes every pay. I had a car. I was outside. Like, again, you gotta be there for your family. Of course, you gotta step up when it's time to step up. But it's like, damn, I'm trying to live outside a little bit. I'm trying to go be with the boys. I'm trying to, I'm trying to have a little, what I mean? It's a little something, yeah. But I still found ways to have a little bit of fun in between. But again, I got so wrapped up in what was going on and what everything that was happening around me. I was worried about, my family because my uncle was in and out the hospital over the years. My dad, he was in and out of the hospital over the years. Then my mom, she got sick for a while, and it was just very, very difficult trying to, like I said, trying to work, go to school, take care of the family, and then also trying to have a life. And it just got to the point where I kind of not gave up on living in a sense that It's checkout time, but gave up on living in a sense. I didn't see the point in having any enjoyment, having any fulfillment. And I started feeling this way after I injured my back. So it was about 2017, 2018 when I injured my back. I was at work, slipped and fell, and the doctors told me that my days of being a mechanic were pretty much numbered. That if I were to be a mechanic, it wouldn't be for long because at some point you will have to have back surgery regardless. And it made me feel like, well, what's the point of continuing forward with this, with school? It made me feel like, it kind of made me feel like when I graduate, this degree is now going to be for nothing. I'm going to always have the skills, but now the time to use them may be limited. Well, not maybe limited, the time to use them are limited. It's just a matter of how much time do I have? And that wasn't really a game I wanted to play. So it was like this compound of emotions like fear, shame, embarrassment, because it's like I'm in this situation where I'm taking care of the people of my family, but I'm not going out anymore. I'm not hanging out. I'm not being social, and I feel like it's just going to drag on forever.